Unveiling the Miraculous Connection, the INTJ-INFJ blend and its divine empathic power revealed, in the heart of a charming English village, where ancient chapel bells chimed a melody of hope, there lived a teacher named Sarah. Her steadfast faith was her anchor, and she was known to invoke the wisdom of St. Thomas Aquinas when enlightening her students. Yet, darkness loomed when her sister, Rachel, an empathetic soul, fell gravely ill, casting a heavy shadow over their tightly knit family. The community rallied, hearts intertwined, as they laid hands on one another, whispering fervent prayers in the crisp evening air like a tender flame against the encroaching chill. As weeks turned into a relentless cycle of anxiety and whispers of despair, Sarah felt a knot of doubt tighten in her chest. The once clear whispers of faith began to echo with uncertainty, almost mocking her desperation. Almost paralyzed by fear, Sarah summoned the courage to gather the village at the chapel for a night of prayer, an event steeped in English tradition, infused with the fragrance of hope, yet weighed down by their somber reality. Time felt suspended as they lit candles, humble flames flickering against the engulfing darkness. The chapel overflowed with the voices of the faithful, and each syllable felt like a petition sent soaring to heaven. It was on this very night, the sacred chamber buzzing with anticipation, that the weight of the world cut through Sarah's already fragile spirit. A hush fell over the congregation like a shroud when the doctor's voice pierced through, declaring there was nothing more to be done for Rachel. The despair in the room was palpable, a shared heartache that resonated deep within. Driven by the last remnants of hope, Sarah explored alternative treatments, praying endlessly. Yet, with each passing day, Rachel's spark seemed to wane, fading into shadows. But amidst the despair, Sarah felt something shift within her, a spiritual awakening that demanded a response. How could they suffer alone? Inspired, she organized a prayer vigil that called for the community to come together, to embrace their shared hope and strength like the intertwining branches of an ancient oak. The night of the vigil, the chapel swelled with an electric energy. Each follower held a candle, lighting the darkness with a beacon of divine expectation. As they prayed, something extraordinary began to unfold. A quiet tremor vibrated within their spirits, igniting an overwhelming sense of unity. Suddenly, a gasp echoed through the congregation. The heavy oak doors swung open. A vision of radiant light poured into the chapel, and there stood Rachel, not only alive but miraculously transformed. The weight she had carried was lifted, hope and joy erupted in a harmonious symphony, drowning out the lingering shadows. Incredible, one villager whispered, a mix of awe and disbelief sweeping them. Another murmured, a miracle, truly. But amidst the cheers and tears, Sarah found herself grappling with what had just unfolded. Had they witnessed divine intervention? What role did the unique bond of their contrasting temperaments, the INTJ's structuring mind paired with the INFJ's tender heart, play in this profound moment? As joy washed through the village like a spring rain, Sarah was left with a luminous core of questions, a stirring within that beckoned her to seek deeper truths. Before we continue, I need to tell you about something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to the system and many people are losing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, click the bell and mark all notifications so you don't miss the next videos. And if you can leave a like, it really helps me with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, tell me in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now let's continue. As laughter and joy enveloped the community, the chapel felt like a sanctuary of profound unity. But there, in the heart of the celebration, Sarah remained. Captivated by the miracles and mysteries of their experience. The air shimmered with divine essence, intertwining the sacred and the mundane, promising that their journey far from over would unfold new layers of faith yet to be revealed. What awaited them on this spiritual quest, born from the remnants of uncertainty and the sparks of hope? As the vibrant echoes of joy settled into a serene reverence, the chapel transformed from a place of mourning into one of thanksgiving. The walls, once darkened by sorrow, now glowed with the warmth of shared faith. Sarah stood among her friends and neighbors, overwhelmed not just by her sister's miraculous return but also by the depth of love surrounding her. Each face told a story of struggle, resilience, and an unwavering belief that had converged that night. Rachel, standing in the gentle halo of candlelight, was radiant. No longer just a sister lost to illness but a beacon of hope. Poems of praise poured forth from her lips, each word brushing against the hearts of those who gathered, elevating their spirits, reminding them of the power that resides in unity. Sarah's heart swelled as she observed Rachel, her once frail form now imbued with newfound strength. A treasure unearthed amidst dust and despair, yet, the question lingered heavily in Sarah's mind. What had truly transpired? The instant Rachel stepped through those doors, a wave of energy surged through the chapel, leaving Sarah breathless. She remembered the trembling hands of the villagers, voices raised like an offering, reaching toward the heavens. Could their collective faith have conjured a miracle, challenging the bounds of human understanding? As the service drew to a close, Sarah requested a moment of silence. The room grew still, hearts beating in unison, souls tethered to the divine. In this sacred silence, she dared to cry out, "Lord, show us your ways." The moment hung in the air like incense, curling into the rafters high above. Would God reveal the truth behind this remarkable event? She could no longer ignore the sense of anticipation building within her. It was as if the very fabric of the universe was aligning, inviting deeper exploration into the divine mysteries that surrounded them. When it was over, villagers lingered, reluctant to leave the warmth of this communal joy. They embraced, exchanging stories that spiraled from despair to hope, sharing not just their relief but visions of a brighter future, etched in newfound clarity. Sarah watched them, each rekindled spirit a reminder of the miracle that had unfolded. "Do you feel it, Sarah?" Rachel whispered, approaching her with eyes shimmering like dew-kissed petals. "The world feels different now, doesn't it? Like we've crossed a threshold into something sacred." "I do," Sarah replied softly, her heart racing. "But I sense there's more. This can't just be a story of healing, it feels like the beginning of something we need to understand." Intrigued, her sister nodded, challenges visible in her features. "What do we do next, then? For everyone here and for ourselves?" The duo turned to the open space of the chapel. The potential for discovery lay wide open, inviting their faith to embark on an adventure of inquiry. They exchanged a look of divine intent, a shared resolve taking root in their hearts. In that moment of communion, new plans began to take shape. They gather the community, not just for worship but exploration, to dig deep into the wellspring of their shared experiences, to reflect on the intricacies of faith, doubt, and the miracles in between. As conversations shifted toward the future, Damon, a thoughtful villager, interrupted with a spark of inspiration. "What if we begin a weekly gathering? To share, to pray, and to seek not just healing but revelation? Much like a parishioner's own pilgrimage." Sarah's heart danced at the thought. "Yes. We'll seek divine guidance together. To question what lies beyond our understanding." The excitement swelled, filling the sacred air with possibility. Rachel clasped her sister's hand, tears of gratitude shimmering as they embraced their shared mission. Yet, just then, a soft wind swept through the chapel, flickering the candle flames and carrying a whisper of divinity. Sarah looked up, sensing an unseen presence, as if the very walls had ears, listening intently. In that gentle breeze lay a promise, a mystery inviting them to dive deeper. What awaits us? Sarah pondered aloud, the question reverberating in her heart. How would they discover the fullness of this journey, and what divine manifestations lay just beyond their grasp? Fingers intertwined, they stepped forward into the unknown, ready to uncover the tapestry of truth woven through vulnerability and faith. As dawn broke over the horizon, bathing the chapel in golden light, Sarah felt a renewed sense of purpose stirring in her soul. She and Rachel gathered the villagers, their hearts alight with hope and curiosity. The gatherings would soon become known as the communion of the faithful, where sharing and seeking divine wisdom would intertwine. Their first meeting promised to be transformative. The atmosphere was charged with excitement, each villager arriving with eager anticipation. Mothers cradled babies, fathers shared knowing glances, and the elders walked with a steadiness born of their years of faith. The resonance of purpose filled the air, mixing with the fragrant scent of fresh flowers that adorned the altar, a testament to the beauty of hope blossoming anew. As the group settled into their circles, Rachel took a hesitant breath, her vibrant presence calming the fluttering hearts around her. "We are here not just to celebrate," she began, voice steady and inviting, "but to search together." Nods of agreement rippled throughout the room. Sarah watched as anticipation blossomed. Conversations sparked like kindling, igniting the shared history of heartache and healing. Opened hearts began to flow like gentle streams, and with them, stories emerged that wrapped around everyone gathered like a warm embrace. "Remember the storm last winter?" Damon said, leaning forward with intensity. "It tore through our homes, but we rebuilt, didn't we? Together." His words held a wisdom steeped in experience, a testament to the resilience nurtured within community. Came a voice from the back, a newcomer named Eliza. "But we did more than rebuild. We learned to trust in each other. Faith was our foundation." Her eyes sparkled with a fierce conviction, drawing others in. Sarah felt the pulse of these stories resonating within her. Each account was a thread, pulling together a woven tapestry of hope. She reflected on Rachel's miraculous recovery, her heart fluttering at the remembrance. What if she interjected with excitement? What if we share not just our past, but our dreams for the future? And just like that, the conversation shifted once more. Dreams poured forth in vivid colors. New ministries, outreach programs, and missions began to take shape in the imaginations of the villagers. Each person was not merely a participant but an essential thread in the tapestry being woven. As their visions began to meld, Rachel stood, a spark of inspiration illuminating her. "Let us pray over these dreams, entrusting them to something greater." Instantly, hands joined across the circle, a chain of warmth radiating throughout. The prayers rose as a gentle thunder, a chorus harmonizing with the soft rustle of leaves outside the chapel. With each amen, hope seemed to swell, echoes ringing in their souls, intertwining their faith more profoundly. But amidst their prayers, Sarah felt a peculiar shift in the air, a spiritual tension that held her breath suspended. It was as though a presence hovered, echoing a deeper call. An unseen anchor solidified, pushing a question further into her heart: what if our prayers are not just personal but interconnected with greater purpose? As the gathering concluded, a profound silence enveloped them, a sacred moment charged with divine possibility. The quiet hum of expectancy thrummed alive, and Sarah found herself glancing around the circle, her gaze resting on Rachel, whose knowing smile mirrored her thoughts. Together, they were embarking on a journey into the unknown, where faith and exploration danced hand in hand. The air seemed to thrum with divine whispers, promising revelations at the intersection of their journey and the boundless possibilities ahead. What awaits us now? Sarah pondered quietly, her soul quivering with anticipation. The question lingered, as vibrant as the morning sun spilling through the chapel's open doors, inviting them into the great mystery just beyond reach. The days that followed the first gathering were akin to an unfolding flower, each petal revealing a deeper layer of community. The air remained thick with hope, and each villager seemed touched by a newfound zeal. They began to see each other differently, not just as neighbors, but as companions on a sacred journey. Sarah marveled at how faith wove a tapestry that had the power to transform individual threads into something unmistakably greater. One evening, as the sun dipped below the horizon, casting elongated shadows on the chapel's stone walls, Rachel invited Sarah to take a walk. They moved side by side, the popping of twigs beneath their feet harmonizing with the songs of evening birds. Rachel glanced over, her eyes reflecting the glow of the setting sun. "Do you feel it?" she asked, her voice a gentle whisper. "The way everything is shifting?" "Yes," Sarah replied, her heart dancing at the thought of possibility. "It's as if the world is waking up to something extraordinary." A small breeze rustled through the trees, whispering secrets of creation. It was in the silence between them that they both sensed it, a divine pulse, a stirring that was not limited to their hearts alone. The thrum of shared faith seemed to echo miles away, calling others to join in this divine unfolding. "Let us gather everyone again," Rachel suggested suddenly, a spark igniting in her eyes. "What if we delve deeper into our shared dreams? What if we uncover not just personal hopes, but a collective vision?" With hearts in agreement, they hurried back to the chapel. Gathering once more, the villagers settled, anticipation painting their faces. Damon, with his unyielding spirit, was the first to speak, eyes bright. "What if we create a place not just for ourselves but for those beyond our village? A sanctuary for anyone seeking faith and community." Cheers erupted around the circle, voices intertwining as new ideas took root. Eliza chimed in, "And what if we invite those who've lost their way? Our stories can guide them back." A fire ignited within Sarah's heart as she fueled this collective vision. "Each of our dreams connects like branches of a tree. We must nurture this tree so it grows strong and tall, offering shelter to people yearning for hope." As they shared, the ideas began to swirl amidst the group, each word adding more color to their canvas of dreams. Laughter and tears mingled in the air, and Sarah again felt that unexplainable spiritual weight, the sensation that something profound was at play. Then, Rachel stood, her voice steady. "Shall we pray over this vision, asking for guidance and clarity ahead?" With hearts intertwined, they bowed their heads. Hands clutched tightly, the energy radiated warmth and comfort. As prayers rose, the air thickened, pregnant with possibility. In that moment, it suddenly felt as if a light enveloped them, a divine embrace, bathing them in peace and clarity. Sarah raised her head slowly, feeling an extraordinary connection pulse between them. What if we truly live out these dreams? What if they reflect God's purpose, an elucidation of the divine plan? Silence enveloped the gathering, each person lost in contemplation. It was a silence full of reverence, pregnant with the weight of shared destiny. Finally, Rachel broke the stillness, a spark of realization illuminating her face. "What if our combined faith can be a beacon, guiding us through the unknown?" As daylight surrendered to night, they felt the Spirit moving among them, urging them to act not just within the walls of their chapel, but as vessels of hope reaching into the world. With hearts opened wide, they concluded the evening with a sense of incredible anticipation, but one question lingered in the air like a hymn waiting to be sung: what path is God laying before us as we step beyond our comfort and into the boldness of unity? Under the velvety cloak of night, the chapel remained aglow, a lighthouse in the darkened countryside. As the villagers lingered, the creak of the floorboards and the flicker of candlelight echoed their unspoken resolve. Sarah could feel the heartbeat of their combined intentions resonating in her chest. She glanced at Rachel, who was already gathering her thoughts to address the crowd again. "Tonight," Rachel began, her voice rich with emotion, "is not just about us. It's about everyone who needs to feel seen, heard, and loved. Let us not only dream, let's take our first steps towards making this vision a reality." A gentle murmur swept through the group, a blend of excitement and nerves. Sarah could sense fears stirring, doubts wrestling with hope. She lifted her hand to calm them. "Imagine if we set out to share our faith and find a way to welcome those souls who wander. Each of us brings unique gifts. Together, we can weave a stronger fabric of community." The memory of their prayers lingered like a sweet aroma. Yet, it was now time for action. Encouragement buzzed in the air like a softly humming choir. Damon stood up again, his sturdy frame grounding the moment. "What would it look like to create spaces within our sanctuary for all people? Perhaps a community garden or storytelling nights? A shelter for those who've lost so much?" His eyes sparkled with passion. "People need sanctuary. Let us offer them a taste of what the love of God can be." Eliza chimed in excitedly, "We can host healing workshops. Share our struggles, guide those who feel so alone. Our vulnerability can transform lives." One by one, hands shot up in agreement. Ideas flowed like water from a spring, each drop nurturing the ground underneath. Plans began to take shape, energies aligning as each member of the community felt the pull of their purpose. Sarah felt warmth bloom within her chest. She recalled the stories she had heard, the heartache woven through the lives of those who came to the chapel seeking solace. We need a way to share these stories. What if we gather people not just to listen, but to speak their truths? Healing begins when we connect our hearts through shared experiences, she suggested. Rachel nodded enthusiastically. A storytelling evening. A night for anyone to come and share, to recount their hardships and triumphs in faith. Let us gather the village for real conversations. A chorus of agreement erupted, laughter mingling with enthusiastic voices. Joy washed over Sarah as ideas became promises that vibrated with potential. Then, from the back, Jonas, a quiet presence until now, spoke up. But what if we fail? What if our efforts fall short? His voice was filled with apprehension, piercing through the joyful chorus. A poignant silence fell over the group. Sarah felt the weight of his question and the truth behind it. But what if we don't? She countered gently. What if we only inspire one heart? Isn't that enough? God does not measure success as we do. He counts the hearts that are touched. As she spoke, a gentle wind swept through the chapel, an almost imperceptible movement, grounding them in that holy moment. Jonah's face softened, his worry slightly lifted. Each heart seemed to beat with a rhythm echoing divine assurance. The evening stretched on, woven with visions and hopes, each word a thread stitching a future together. But beneath the vibrant energy, a question lingered, floating in the air like the soft notes of a hymn, deeper than any plans or fears. What if we are called to something greater, a mission that transforms not only our village but those beyond? Are we prepared for the beauty and the struggle of that journey? As they gathered their notes and blinked into the starlit night, the weight of uncertainty loomed, laced with excitement. A profound realization dawned: their true work had just begun. Would they yield to the call or shrink back into the shadows of doubt? The answer awaited them just beyond their steps. The stars twinkled overhead as the villagers stepped out into the night, the fresh air imbued with a sense of wonder and new beginnings. Their laughter cascaded through the stillness, mingling with the whispers of the trees. Sarah took a deep breath, savoring the crispness around her, feeling invigorated by the gathering. She could sense that their hearts beat together as one, and it felt as if the whole world was waiting for them to acte. As they walked back to their homes, the discussions continued, like gentle ripples spreading across a pond. People contemplated the ideas they had birthed together, discussing the storytelling night with renewed excitement. Each shared thought was a piece of the puzzle, forming something greater than their individual hopes. But amid the fervor, one question loomed large in Sarah's mind: how would they weave their stories into a tapestry of healing for the community? Back in her small cottage, Sarah lit a candle, the glow illuminating her journal resting on a wooden table. She felt a pull to write down the ideas that had ignited that evening. They were more than plans, they were dreams steeped in purpose. Grabbing her pen, she felt the weight of divine inspiration hug her tightly. One by one, the words flowed onto the page, breathing life into each thought. Healing workshops, community gardens, storytelling evenings all stood as bridges to connect hearts and souls, but just as quickly, shadows of doubt crept in. Could they truly make a difference? What if their effort stumbled? With each question that rose, she remembered Jonas's concerns. It was one thing to dream collectively, but quite another to see it flourish in reality. The flicker of the candlelight danced as she continued to write, "Lord, grant us courage, help us step beyond our fears." The words echoed her heart's desire. She paused, closed her eyes, and whispered a simple prayer, trusting that God would guide their steps. The following morning dawned bright and hopeful. As the villagers gathered again at the chapel, anticipation hung in the air, thick with purpose. There was an energy that felt electric. As Sarah looked around, faces bright with hope met her gaze. It was a reminder that strength could be found in unity, in their willingness to share burdens and joys alike. Rachel was the first to speak. "Let us break ground on our projects today. It's time to fill our chapel with more than just worship. We can transform it into a haven for healing and connection." A rousing affirmation swept through the crowd where smiles met enthusiasm. Each heart echoed a sincere commitment. Excitement was tangible, yet beneath it lingered a layer of trepidation. The moment felt monumental, a commitment to embark on a journey that would likely stretch them in ways they never anticipated. As they drew up plans and gathered supplies, Sarah moved through the bustling group, her heart swelling with gratitude and perhaps a tinge of fear. This was no small endeavor. Could they truly sustain this? The heaviness of such thoughts was heavy, so she took a moment to step outside, letting the sun warm her face. She glanced up and noticed an elderly woman sitting nearby, her gaze fixed serenely on the chapel. Wanting to connect, Sarah approached her gently. "Are you excited for what is to come?" she asked, her voice filled with curiosity. The woman turned to her, eyes sparkling with wisdom. "Dear child, the seeds we plant today may not bloom until tomorrow, but the roots are already spreading deep. Trust in the journey, and let faith carry you." The words settled in Sarah's heart, stirring something profound within her. As they continued their work, laughter filled the air, punctuated by moments of prayer and gratitude. The villagers embraced the warmth of each other's presence, moving with purpose. Yet somewhere deep inside Sarah, the most significant question remained: what if this was just the beginning? What kind of miracle awaited them as they stepped forward in faith? That question lingered, suspended in the air like an enchanting melody, drawing them all closer to the divine possibilities of love waiting to unfold. Would they embrace the journey with open hearts and hands, ready to welcome the unexpected? As the sun climbed higher, casting golden rays across the chapel and illuminating the joyful faces of the villagers, excitement surged through Sarah. She could feel it in her bones, a vibrancy that seemed to welcome the new endeavors they were about to undertake. Each step they took toward the chapel felt like a step toward something greater. Was this what faith felt like? A deep certainty nestled in the uncertainty. They gathered beneath the chapel's rafters, their voices weaving together as they shared intentions and aspirations. Each word became a thread in the fabric of their plans, binding them tighter to one another and to the mission they had set their hearts upon. Sarah stood at the front, slightly trembling with enthusiasm and nerves. "Today, we begin," she declared. "Not just work, but a journey of connection and healing. Let our stories intertwine like vines, creating a lush garden of empathy and understanding." Cheers erupted, reverberating off the walls. The sound mingled with the warmth of the day, creating a melody of hope that settled over them all. As they split into smaller groups, each led by a different voice, Sarah felt a tug in her spirit. She wished to guide them, to ensure they felt secure in the undertaking. But she knew that sometimes, true guidance lay in stepping aside and allowing others to shine. As they began their tasks, the air filled with laughter and determination. Some painted, others gathered supplies for the garden, and a few started brainstorming for the storytelling event that would officially kick off this new chapter. The enthusiasm was contagious, wrapping around them like a comforting blanket, yet, amidst the joyful chaos, Sarah's soul wrestled quietly. She kept returning to the elderly woman's words: the seeds, the roots. There was wisdom within that felt deeply layered, and she longed to understand it more fully. What did it mean to trust in the journey? Was she truly ready for the responsibility that lay ahead? In a moment of pause, Sarah closed her eyes, letting the sounds of the village wash over her. She heard the laughter, the rustle of leaves, the gentle hum of faith alive in action. "Lord, please guide me," she murmured, her spirit reaching out toward clarity. When she opened her eyes, she noticed Rachel. The spark in her eye mirrored Sarah's own burgeoning excitement. "Look at this!" Rachel exclaimed, holding up a handful of seeds. "Each one is a promise, isn't it? A reminder of what can flourish if we tend to them lovingly." "Exactly," Sarah replied, her heart swelling. "Each seed represents a story, a life waiting to blossom." As they continued to work, the divine presence seemed to embrace them, stirring each heart into a deeper understanding of their purpose. Each task took on a sacred significance, and soon Sarah felt the veil of doubt begin to lift. The promise of transformation seemed tangible, the air was thick with divine anticipation. Just as they prepared to take a break, a gentle wind swept through the chapel, rustling the papers and stirring the villagers into quiet reflection. They all looked toward the entrance as a figure approached, an unfamiliar man with kind eyes and an air of serenity. "I've come with a message," he said, his voice smooth like honey, resonating with authority and love. "What you are doing here is blessed. But remember, it is not just the seeds you plant in the ground, the hearts you touch are just as important." Sarah's breath caught in her throat. Who was he? What did he mean? The crowd drew nearer, their curiosity palpable. The message hung heavily in the air, pregnant with potential. What would this stranger reveal? What divine insights were waiting to unfold? The stranger's presence seemed to ripple through the crowd, an electric current sparking wonder and hope in each heart. His words lingered in the air like a fragrant incense, inviting a deeper understanding of their gathering, of the seeds they were about to plant not only in the earth, but in each other's lives. "Who are you?" Sarah finally found her voice, her curiosity pushing through the stillness. "I am but a humble traveler," he replied, a hint of a smile playing on his lips. "I've been drawn here by your vibrant energy, your collective faith. Each of you carries a light, a divine spark. The work you do extends beyond physical labor. It is a testament to love, kindness, and the transformative power of community." As the villagers leaned in, the man continued. "Your hearts are fertile ground. Nurture each other's dreams. The seeds you plant in the garden are reflections of the compassion you offer. They'll grow, yes, but only if you foster a spirit of love and connection among yourselves." A murmur of agreement spread through the crowd. Sarah felt her heart leap at his words. It was as if he could see into the very depths of their mission, uncovering a truth they hadn't fully embraced yet. A warmth surged within her, igniting a desire to act, to create an atmosphere ripe for growth both in their garden and in their relationships. "Let us open our hearts," she said, encouraged by the stranger's message. "Let us share a moment of reflection, a time to connect with one another, so we can sow these seeds of hope together. Not just into the earth, but into our lives." The villagers, buzzing with excitement, formed a circle beneath the chapel's rafters. Sarah closed her eyes again, centering her thoughts. The man's voice had stirred something deep within her, a yearning for unity that transcended their individual ambitions. "Let us share," she urged gently. "A word of hope, a story of blessing, anything that comes to mind. We each have things we carry, burdens and joys. Together, let us lift those up to one another." One by one, hands raised, voices broke the sacred silence. Stories of triumph and trials filled the air. Mary shared her struggle to reconnect with her estranged son. Tom spoke about his journey of recovery, how faith had been his anchor. Rachel shared a joyful memory of a sunflower her mother had once planted, reminding them all of how beauty could spring from even the smallest act of kindness. As each story unfurled, Sarah felt the collective heartbeat of the community. Emotions stirred, a symphony of sorrow, joy, hope, and love enveloped them. The man watched, his eyes glimmering with approval. "See how your stories intertwine," he said softly. "You are not just planting seeds of crops, but seeds of trust, understanding, and healing." The air around them vibrated with a palpable energy, a divine connection that coursed through the assembly. Each shared narrative offered healing, every shared pain another layer of growth in their communal soil. As the sun dipped lower, casting warm hues across the chapel, Sarah felt a sense of awe wash over her. The gathering felt sacred, each heart woven together more tightly than before. Yet, a flicker of uncertainty still remained. Sarah turned to the stranger, her eyes filled with questions. "How can we ensure that the seeds we plant go beyond this day?" she asked, feeling the weight of the moment in her chest. He smiled knowingly, as if he had anticipated her question. "Ah, that's the mystery, dear one. How deep are you willing to let your roots grow? That's where the journey truly begins." The crowd tensed, sensing the weight of his words. What depths lay yet to be explored? What challenges awaited them in nurturing not just their garden, but each other's souls? As the stranger's words hung in the air, a hush fell over the crowd. Sarah's heart raced with anticipation. She could feel the unspoken burdens of her neighbors mingling with her own. What if we dreamed bigger, she thought. What if the seeds they planted today sprouted into a community that could weather any storm? Just then, the stranger shifted slightly, as if sensing her inner ponderings. Rooting deeper requires more than just good intentions, he continued, his voice gentle but firm. It calls for vulnerability, the courage to open up and share your lives, not just your stories. Let today be a beginning. Tom, ever perceptive, stepped forward. But how do we stay connected? Life gets chaotic, and it's easy to slip back into our routines. What can anchor us? His question resonated with many, awakening a collective longing for stability. The stranger nodded in understanding. Ah, dear friend, remember that connection is both a choice and a practice. Create rituals, small sacred moments in your everyday lives. Whether it's sharing a meal together weekly or setting aside time for prayer and reflection, let these moments be the soil in which your relationships grow. Reactions of nods and murmurs spread through the circle like a warm breeze, fluttering between them. Sarah felt a surge of excitement. What if we start a community meal? She exclaimed, her voice bubbling with enthusiasm. We could gather every Friday under the great oak tree. Share dishes, laughter, and prayers, engage in the beautiful dance of our lives together. The stranger smiled, his eyes sparkling. Yes. Let the rhythm of life echo in your gatherings. But also be mindful, during difficult times, hold space for one another too. Together, creating a safe place for sharing pain is as important as celebrating joy. As the sun began its descent, casting long shadows, something shifted in the atmosphere. The warmth wrapped around them, and Sarah felt as if they were being embraced by a divine presence. Each person stood a bit taller, newly emboldened by the hope cultivated in the meeting. They began discussing how they would implement Sarah's idea, brainstorming ways to weave their stories into communal meals and prayers. Each suggestion ignited more enthusiasm, building a bridge of connection stronger than the last. Then, the stranger raised his hand again, stilling their chatter. I invite you to look around the circle. See the faces, each one a bearer of light and courage. Each story a thread in this rich tapestry of community. Now, remember that every season brings challenges. What will you do when the winds of difficulty blow? The atmosphere shifted as they pondered his words. A sobering realization settled into the hearts of those gathered. This journey was not meant to be easy. It required effort, commitment, and love to flourish. Mary, who had been quietly listening, spoke up. We need to be there for one another, especially in the hard times. We could make a pact to show up, to be present, and support each other. The fervor of her voice inspired nods of agreement. As words of encouragement filled the air, Sarah looked at the stranger, a mixture of gratitude and uncertainty flooding her heart. What would growth look like when the winds of sorrow or doubt crept in? Would they falter, or would they lean into one another, rooted in love? What do you suggest we do in our darkest moments? Sarah asked him earnestly, her vulnerability sparking curiosity within the crowd. His eyes shone with wisdom, a hint of the divine in their depths. Remember this, it is in the darkness that your roots gain strength, and your light will shine even brighter, but only if you choose to face it together. The crowd stood still, pondering his words. They began to understand, together was their greatest strength, the mosaic of their lives inseparably intertwined. But the stranger's final words resonated in Sarah's soul. Are your roots ready to reach deep, even when the storms come? Will you allow love to guide you through whatever may come? As that evening light dimmed, a question hung in the air. A divine challenge poised to be embraced. What storms awaited them, and would they stand firm, united in purpose? How deep were they truly willing to go? As the chapel glowed under the tender caress of twilight, a hush fell over the villagers. They stood together, shoulder to shoulder, hearts beating as one, the weight of purpose resting upon them. The stranger, whose presence had stirred their spirits, seemed almost to fade into the warmth of the golden hour, yet his words lingered, echoing in their minds. "Will you allow love to guide you through whatever may come?" Sarah felt those words pierce her heart with urgency. The collective dreams they had stirred together, the seeds of hope they were about to plant, were not just for them. They were for every soul aching for connection in a world that often felt lonely and cold. Rachel, standing beside her sister, took a deep breath. "We need to dig deeper than we thought," she said, her voice steady yet soft. "Rebecca, remember when you faced your fears and still chose to rise each day? What if we all shared our storms, embraced our shadows, and let this fuel our journey?" A murmur of agreement rustled through the group. Each villager recalled their darkness, tales of loss, heartache, and struggle colored their reflections. With each memory, their souls mingled like threads in a tapestry, painting their connected stories with both light and shadow. Mary stepped forward again, her eyes glistening. "Let us create a safe space for our pain, for our stories, even the ones we find hard to share. What if we dedicate time to listen, truly listen, to each other?" The room brightened with her words, a sacred energy igniting the room like a campfire under a starlit sky, inviting warmth and trust. "Yes!" Damon shouted, enthusiasm filling his voice. "We could hold gatherings to share our challenges and victories, to lift each other up. Let us call it harvest nights where we can bring our crops of pain but also our fruits of joy." The villagers burst into agreement, ideas sparking off one another like fireflies in the summer evening. Dreams took flight as laughter and hope intertwined with their words, a sacred dance unfolding before them. They imagined healing workshops, story-sharing evenings, and rituals around nurturing one another's burdens. As conversations flowed, Sarah noticed a gentle breeze drift through the open door, stirring the flickering flames of the candles. The air crackled with anticipation, a silent assurance enveloping the chapel like a divine embrace. She glanced at Rachel, who radiated certainty, her spirit invigorated by what lay ahead. "It feels like clarity is bubbling," Sarah said softly, leaning closer to her sister. "Our mission is about more than just community, it's about growth, transformation." The power of their connection felt tangible, almost as if the very fabric of their hearts aligned in alignment with divine purpose. That night, as the sun lowered beneath the horizon, the villagers embraced the promise they had woven together. Each person stood up to share their commitment. "I will be a beacon for the weary. I will nurture the dreams we plant. I will be here through darkness and light." With unwavering voices, they assured one another that they would be present through storms and celebrations alike. Each promise strengthened their resolve, intertwining their spirits like the roots of an ancient grove, deepening in communion. Hours melted away, and as Sarah lingered on the threshold of the chapel, she felt an overwhelming sense of gratitude wash over her. This was the moment they were called to, a generational shift like a river awakening to its boundless course, flowing toward the future. They were no longer mere neighbors or a village, they were a living testament of hope, wrapped tightly in love. "Come, join me," Rachel called softly, her voice carrying like a sweet melody. "It's time to go amongst the fields, to plant our seeds, to celebrate our visions." With lanterns glowing bright against the backdrop of darkening skies, the villagers walked into the night, accompanied by the sounds of laughter and camaraderie. Their hearts flourished, igniting the still air with the promise of something beautiful to come, a garden of healing, woven into their lives, reaching beyond the chapel walls and into the wider world. They gathered in the open fields under the sky, hand in hand. At that moment, as they knelt in the soil, they invoked a deeper connection to each other and to God, surrendering their dreams and fears into the fertile ground they were cultivating. "Dear Lord," they prayed in unison, "may these roots grow strong, intertwining our stories, nurturing love, and offering a sanctuary to all who seek it." In that sacred silence, the wind picked up, wrapping around them like a warm blanket, whispering encouragement. A vibrant energy pulsed around the edges of their heart, strength not just in themselves, but in the phenomenal love they offered one another. As their prayers ascended on the night breeze, the stars above flickered to life, shimmering with divine approval. The villagers stood united, hearts tethered in an intricate dance of faith and connection. And with that, a sense of purpose ignited within them all, guiding every next step of their journey forth. This was the moment their lives would never be the same. This was the beginning. As the night faded into dawn, their journey continued, one hand reaching outward, inviting others to join the tapestry of hope. Now, brothers and sisters in faith, it's time for you to take action. I urge you to subscribe immediately to the channel so you don't miss the next exclusive faith stories. Leave a like now to feed the algorithm and support our mission of spreading hope. Comment your reactions and uplifting testimonies about this powerful ending. And don't wait even one more second to share this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this divine manifestation. Together, let's unite in uplifting each other and sharing the love of God.